Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a time when we must vanish. Not in fear, not in defeat, but in the grandest act of transformation. The person you believe yourself to be, the one shaped by opinions, fears, and expectations, is nothing but a character in a passing dream. And like a snake shedding its skin or a river reshaping the land, you too must let go of the illusion of permanence. But how do you disappear? You do it not by running away, but by dissolving the rigid boundaries of identity. You cease clinging to the past. You stop resisting the flow of life, and you allow yourself to become something greater than a name, a job, or a reputation. You melt into the present moment. To transform is to embrace the art of dying. Not a physical death, but the death of who you think you are. It is to surrender to the infinite, to step beyond the known and into the mystery. You are not a fixed thing, but a movement, a process, a dance of existence itself. So vanish, disappear from the limitations imposed upon you. Dissolve the chains of your own making. And when you reappear, let it be as something boundless, something free, an unfolding force of nature, a presence that no longer needs a label, but simply is. From the moment you were born, you were given a name, a nationality, a role to play. You were handed a story, a carefully constructed narrative of who you were supposed to be. And like an actor who has rehearsed his lines for so long, you came to believe that the script was real. But pause for a moment and ask yourself, who am I beyond this story? Is the you who exists today the same you who existed 10 years ago? The body has changed, cells replaced, thoughts shifted, memories altered. The person you were then is gone, yet something remains. But what is that something? Is it the mind, the emotions, the fleeting thoughts that come and go like the wind? Or is it something deeper, something more elusive, an awareness that watches it all unfold? This is the illusion of the self, the idea that you are a fixed thing, a solid identity, a being separate from the great flow of life. But in truth, you are a movement, a process, a river that never stops flowing. The person you believe yourself to be is nothing but a ripple in that river, forming for a moment before dissolving back into the whole. Look closely at your thoughts. One moment they tell you that you are strong, the next they whisper that you are weak. And so, to transform, you must first see through this illusion. You must recognize that the self you cling to so desperately is a shadow, a mirage, dancing on the surface of existence. When you let go of it, you do not lose anything real, you simply wake up from the dream. The moment you stop identifying with the false self, you become vast, no longer confined to labels, expectations, or the weight of the past. You move with life itself. You're not just a person, you are not just a name. You are the sky, the ocean, the wind through the trees. You are the very essence of change, free to become anything. You have been taught to see yourself as separate from others, from nature, from life itself. You have been given edges, walls, and limitations, as if you were a solid, unchanging thing. But is that really true? From the moment you wake up, the mind reinforces this boundary. It whispers, this is me, that is them. This is mine, that is yours. And so we build a fortress around ourselves, protecting an identity that feels distinct, unique, and independent. What if this separation is an illusion? What if the walls you've built around yourself are not real, but only the result of conditioned thinking? Look at the breath. You inhale, and it becomes part of you. You exhale, and it returns to the world. Where do you end, and where does the world begin? The food you eat, the water you drink, the energy you absorb from the sun. These things do not belong to you, yet they are you. And it is not just the body. Your thoughts, your ideas, your emotions, are they truly separate from the world? You are shaped by every conversation, every book, every experience. The fears you carry, the hopes you nurture, the beliefs you hold, all of these were once outside of you, and now they live within. You are not an island, you are the ocean, merging constantly with everything around you. To dissolve your boundaries is to let go of the rigid idea of me and mine. It is to recognize that you are not isolated, but deeply interconnected. You are not a single drop of water, you are the entire sea moving as one. But why does this matter? Because the moment you dissolve these boundaries, fear disappears. Fear thrives in separation. It is the fear of loss, the fear of the unknown, the fear of the other. But when you realize there is no other, that there is only one vast unfolding of existence, the fear dissolves like mist in the morning sun. To live without boundaries is to flow. It is to see yourself in the eyes of every person you meet, to recognize your reflection in the trees, in the rivers, in the stars above. It is to move with life instead of against it, to embrace the constant change, and to allow yourself to be transformed by it. So ask yourself, what walls have I built around me? What limits have I placed on who I am? And what would happen if just for a moment I let them go? Every moment something in you is dying. The person you were yesterday is already gone. The thoughts you held just an hour ago have faded into the past. Even the cells in your body, those tiny building blocks of your existence, are constantly shedding, renewing, transforming. Yet, despite this endless cycle of change, you hold on, grasping at an idea of permanence that does not exist. Why do we fear death when we are dying every second? Not just in the grand physical sense, but in the subtle, quiet ways that go unnoticed. The dreams you once had, the beliefs you once clung to, the relationships that shaped you, all of them have in some way ended. You are not who you were 5 years ago, 5 months ago, or even 5 minutes ago. And yet you persist in believing that you are a fixed self, afraid of letting go of what no longer serves you. But here is the great paradox. Transformation cannot happen without death. A tree does not bloom without first shedding its leaves. The caterpillar does not become the butterfly without surrendering to the cocoon. Everything in nature follows this rhythm. Creation, dissolution. But instead of allowing the natural process of letting go, you resist. You cling to old identities, outdated beliefs, broken narratives of who you are supposed to be. You fear change, not realizing that the very thing you are afraid of is what will set you free. To truly transform, you must embrace the art of dying, not as an end, but as a beginning. To let go of the self that no longer aligns with you. To allow old versions of yourself to fade without mourning their loss. To surrender the need for control and trust that whatever comes next is exactly what is needed. And when you do this, something remarkable happens. You stop fearing life. Because when you no longer fear death, the death of ego, the death of expectation, the death of attachment, you become fearless. You begin to live fully, freely, unburdened by the weight of a self that was never meant to stay the same. So die daily. Let the past dissolve. Allow yourself to be reborn again and again, unafraid of the unknown, because in the end, What you truly are is not something that can die. It is the eternal force of change itself. Fear is the great illusion. It is a shadow cast by the mind, a trick played by thought, a story whispered in the dark corners of your consciousness. And yet, you let it define you. You let it dictate your choices, shape your identity, and build invisible walls around your life. You hold on to it as if it were real. Look closely at fear. What is it really? It is never about the present moment. It is always about the future. Something that might happen, something that could go wrong. Fear is the mind projecting itself into a future that does not exist, spinning possibilities of loss, pain, or failure. It keeps you trapped, frozen, unwilling to take the steps that would set you free. But have you noticed, most of what you feared in the past never actually happened. The worries that kept you up at night, the anxieties that gnawed at your soul, they faded, replaced by new fears, new worries. Fears like a ghost, constantly shifting, always looking for something new to cling to. And if you let it, it will keep you trapped in a cycle of hesitation and regret. To disappear from fear is not to fight it. Fighting fear only makes it stronger. It is like struggling in quicksand. The more you resist, the deeper you sink. Instead, you must dissolve into it. See it for what it is, an empty thought, a passing cloud, nothing more than a flickering image on the screen of the mind. When you stop giving fear your attention, fear thrives on attachment to security, to reputation, to certainty. It makes you afraid to take risks, to step into the unknown, to let go of the familiar. But the truth is, everything you truly desire lies on the other side of fear. Growth, freedom, transformation, all require stepping into uncertainty. There is a moment after letting go when you feel empty, as if something fundamental has dissolved. The old fears, the old identity, the rigid boundaries that once defined you, all gone. And for a brief second, the mind panics. If I am not that, then what am I? But this is where the greatest transformation happens. This is the moment you reappear, not as the person you once were, not as the limited self you clung to, but as something vast, something boundless. You reappear not as a name, not as a role, but as life itself. You reappear as the infinite. What does it mean to be infinite? It means you are no longer confined to a single version of yourself. You are not your past, nor are you tied to any fixed destiny. You are free to change, free to grow, free to expand beyond anything you once imagined. The labels, the definitions, the need to be someone, all of it dissolves, and in its place is pure potential. Consider the sky. It does not struggle to define itself. It does not insist on being a particular shade of blue, nor does it resist the arrival of storms or the setting of the sun. It simply is, vast, open, ever-changing, yet always whole. This is what it means to be infinite, to exist without resistance, to flow without fear, to embrace every moment as part of the unfolding dance of existence. And so, the choice is yours. You can remain as you have always been, bound by fear, clinging to the illusion of self, resisting the natural flow of transformation. Because in truth, you were never just a name, a title, or a fleeting identity. You were always something vast, something timeless, something beyond definition. And when you release the old, when you surrender the need to be someone, you step into the freedom of being everything. So disappear, not in fear, not in loss, but in liberation. Disappear from limitation, from hesitation, from the false stories that have kept you small. And then reappear, weightless, limitless, and whole. Reappear as life itself. Reappear as the infinite.